Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me out there? Yeah? Okay. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education. The board has already met in executive session, and we saluted the flag in there. So we are going to convene our regular session. I'll just go over the highlights of the statement of public notice. You can read the whole thing at your leisure. You can see at the beginning of it, we have our special regulations because of COVID, that people have self-assessed for their personal health and that they wear a face covering. And just to explain the executive order that applies to schools during the school day, it's been clarified it definitely applies to Board of Ed meetings and any school events that happen after hours in the building too when they're indoors. So if anyone doesn't have a mask, Jen Nicholson in the back corner back there has some, right Jen? Okay. And the statement of public notice also talks about how we welcome input from the public. There are 2 points in the meeting. There's public comment on agenda items where you're free to come up and make your public comment about anything that is on the agenda. And then later, towards the end of the meeting, there's public comment on non-agenda items, which is where you can talk about anything else or more stuff on the agenda. The instructions for the links for the live stream for the meeting to watch from home are on the website, and the instructions for submitting public comment are on there also. You need to send your public comment after the meeting starts, which is, it's already started, in order to be read at public comment. So if you sent it in earlier, could you please resend it again after 7 o'clock to btconnect@bernardsboe.com. Or you can text it into the number that's listed on the website and use public comment in the email subject or the start of the text message. Indicate your first and last names and address. And when you come up to the microphone here, if you could also give your name and address, we would please appreciate that. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is our student representative. And since it's the beginning of a new school year, we have a new student representative, Gordon Lee. Welcome, Gordon. Oh, I forgot to do the roll call. I'm sorry. Okay, roll call, please, Mr. McLaughlin.
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Ms. Beckman?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mrs. Korn?
Here.
Ms. Singh?
Here.
Since I did it.
Ms. Hira?
Here.
Mr. Markarian?
Here.
Mr. Syatt?
Here.
Mrs. McCune?
Here.
Madam Vice President?
Okay, sorry about that. It's been a little while since I had to run the meeting, so I forgot. Okay, so Gordon Lee is our new student representative. So welcome, Gordon. It's nice to have you here tonight.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Gordon. I'm a senior here at Ridge High School, and it is my honor and pleasure to be the student representative for Ridge High School for this coming school year. These first 2 days of school have been quite an interesting adventure for all students involved, as you can imagine. With many students physically stepping into school for the first time since March of 2020, coupled with the new rotating drop schedule, students have definitely felt the need to take some time to readjust to what will ultimately become a normal high school day. Fortunately for most of us though, including most freshmen, we have already adjusted to this new pattern for the most part, and all of us fairly pretty much know exactly where we need to go and on what days, what classes do we have. Additionally, students are also beginning to explore the benefits of a single unit lunch. These benefits include more time with friends and outdoor seating, something that we've only really ever been able to dream about in previous years. Though it is still too early to tell how exactly these new changes will change the environment of Ridge High School, one thing is for certain. Ridge will become a stronger and more well-rounded community socially, emotionally, and academically. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gordon. I know the students are getting used to the new schedule. When I was in high school, my high school had a different schedule every day, but we didn't have cell phones and apps and stuff like that. And so occasionally I would forget the notebook that had the schedule on it, and then I'd be all confused. I remember having nightmares about not knowing where I was going. So I'm sure with all of the technology, the kids will quickly get used to the new schedule and you have it at your fingertips. Does anyone have any other questions for Gordon? Okay, well, thank you and welcome. And as I think Mrs. Gray told you in an email, the student representative is always welcome to stay or go do homework and go to other activities depending on your schedule. Okay, thank you. We're up to superintendent's report, and it looks like we have one item, which is school opening. Mr. Markarian.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Just a few things I wanted to share. Overall, if you read the SOS Express I sent out last Friday, I thought overall we had a very, very good opening. As Gordon mentioned, we have a lot going on, and in addition to the significant changes we have going on with respect to the high school schedule, we've also been implementing a one-to-one Chromebook initiative, 612, and in many of our classrooms, K-5. So obviously that's keeping us very busy, and we anticipate having all of those devices out to our students by the end of September. I wanted to share briefly also that the state of New Jersey, through Executive Order 253, has required all of our staff to either be vaccinated or to engage in weekly COVID-19 screening tests. So we are going to be working with the state of New Jersey's testing program. The deadline to apply for that program was today. We applied for it over a week ago, and we will be looking for guidance as to exactly how they are going to roll that program out and getting connected with the vendors that would be coming here to do the testing. As part of that testing program, we do have to make testing available to students. We will not be requiring students to test, but we have to make it available to students as well, of course, with parent permission. So as we learn a little bit more about the program, we will be communicating with parents as to exactly how that will work, and they will be given a consent form through Genesis if, in fact, they choose to participate in the program. So overall, great start. One area where we have been challenged has been transportation. I have tried to be transparent, no pun intended, communicating with families over the course of the last month or so because transportation is a challenging area with respect to staffing. There are national, local, statewide challenges in having enough drivers to drive school buses. It's a big problem right now, and it's been a problem that's been growing over the last several years, and I think was really exacerbated by the gap in service for many school districts that might not have had school busing last year. In any event, we recognize this is a struggling situation. We are working with our vendors to get all of our routes covered. We are almost there. Unfortunately, there are not substitute bus drivers available, which means that if a driver's out on a given day, there isn't someone to take their route, which can create delays in having students picked up. So the schools are working on communication systems to try to alert families as soon as we know that a route is going to be delayed or uncovered. The other area that I've been sort of helping to do a little recruiting, if you've seen the flyers, you know that we're also looking for some staff in our food service program. We've done pretty well actually in getting that program started, even though we weren't running food service last year. I know that our business administrator has worked with our third-party contract monitor for both food service, grounds, and maintenance to really get restaffed, and we're getting close. And from what I've observed in going to cafeterias in the first few days of school, they've got a good start, and I think we're going to be fine, but we are still looking for some more staff in that area. And lastly, I just wanted to just take pause. I know I mentioned it again in my SOS Express on Friday, but obviously over the weekend we did have the 20th anniversary of September 11th, so I wanted to just recognize and honor the historical event and make sure that the public knew that we did take some steps in a great appropriate way to honor that 20th anniversary in our schools last week on Friday. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Markarian. Does any board members have any questions for him about that? Okay. We are now up to public comment on agenda items. So if there's anyone that would like to come forward, we'll take the public comment from the people who are here first, and then we'll check and see if anyone sent in public comment. So is there anyone here that would like to come give public comment?
Good evening, Board. Thank you for your service. My name is Kirsten Light. I live at 13 Victoria Drive. Again, in all transparency, I am running for the school board this year, so I want to make you guys aware of that again. There are a couple of things that have come up throughout the course of the start of the school year that we have some questions about, that some parents have raised concerns about. One of them is specifically around the mask mandate this week, particularly because the heat index is rather high, and wondering if you, Dr. Markarian, could possibly delegate to the school nurses to assess the situation to determine if there is an exception to make masks optional during the school day while the heat index is high, particularly at Mount Prospect School, where it seems that there's some air conditioning issues that need to be worked out. So that is one thing that has come up during the week. Additionally, there has been some comments from some of the students about the cafeteria and the crowdedness of the cafeteria. So, one of the comments that I just wanted to make related to that is that I think that this is a really good opportunity, since we didn't proceed with the cafeteria building. I think it's a good opportunity to look at innovative solutions and maybe consider allowing upperclassmen to leave campus during the day, during the school district. And I think that that would help the local economy, the local businesses that had struggled during the last year during COVID, but also give some freedom and responsibility to the upperclassmen and alleviate some of the cafeteria crowding that we're experiencing right now. So thank you very much.
Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items?
Hi, Sherry Nelson, 195 Smoke Rise Road. I have a question about Ridge High School. The drop-off starts at 7:15, which is new this year for having everyone here in person. And I've been driving somebody to Ridge High School for 5 years now. Traffic's a lot worse. I know last year we did 7:15 when you were doing the hybrid, and half the kids were coming in on different days, and they weren't eating lunch and spending the whole day in school. And the idea is you don't want them congregating in the school for that long in the morning before they go to class, but they're on overcrowded buses just sitting in traffic. There's no real difference. And I think we could get the kids to school on time if we had maybe 7 o'clock drop off the doors open. I just decided to look this morning as I was leaving, and it's 7:32 as far as you could see down Lake Road at the traffic light, looking buses, cars in every direction. So there's a lot of people who were still late. Like the first few days, I get that it takes a while for the traffic to settle down and not be quite so bad, but it seems worse, and I kind of think that extra 15 minutes of getting kids in the building might really help. And they're, like I say, they're all crowded on buses together, so there's really no difference. If they were somewhere, it might even be better in the building. There'd be places they could space out more. And then what the previous speaker talked about with Mount Prospect and the air conditioning. My understanding is that there was a repair person there all day on Friday working on this. And so I don't understand why parents weren't told that this was going on in the building. And I don't really understand why masks weren't made optional until an email that came out like 4:30 this afternoon. Specifically, that preschool wing has a lot of disabled students and a lot of nonverbal disabled 3-year-olds. The World Health Organization doesn't even recommend masks for children under the age of 6 or people with disabilities. We're masking 3-year-olds with disabilities in classrooms that were 85 degrees today. If that was my kid, and I've had a nonverbal kid in that preschool, if somebody would have just told me Friday or this morning, hey, we have no air conditioning, I'd have kept them home. I think we need to communicate with the parents better so they can make those decisions for the health and safety of their kids. A couple days of missing preschool, it's not high school, it's not college, it's not a big deal. We could at least have, the choice. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in person that would like to make a public comment? No, do we have any ones that were sent in, Mr. Syatt?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
First public comment is Lena Riles, 252 Crabtree Court. If this has been addressed, please let me know where to find this information. Thanks. What are the plans when a student has had contact with someone with COVID? What is the time frame of quarantine to test? How will the child be delivered work from school? Will they be marked absent? What are the long-term plans for this scenario, as I'm sure it will lead to lots of absences and missed learning? And will the child be penalized by these number of absences? Next public comment is from Barbara Geary, Dryden Road. Hello, item number 12 is approve quarantine tutors 21-22 school year. Would you please explain the quarantine tutors' responsibilities? Thank you. And that's all for public comment on agenda items.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Syatt. Mr. Markarian, do you want to answer a few of the easy ones? Or you want to close public comment, and then you can answer a couple of the quick ones. Some of them we might have to get back to you on, but.
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. McKeon. So the question of the timing of drop-off has come up relative to actually all the different school levels, and I appreciate recognizing that, you know, we're trying to settle in and get transportation smoothed out, busing and the timing and people getting into routine. The times that we started the school year with were the same as last year for the reason that Ms. Nelson cited in terms of trying not to have lots of students congregating before school begins, just for social distancing purposes. But all the principals are kind of keeping an eye on that, and I know that there's been some discussion about trying to back it up a little bit. We might have to talk about it, actually, Mr. Syatt, in personnel this month, because depending on how far back you allow students to be dropped off, you need to have somebody there for supervision purposes. So, you know, that's not insurmountable necessarily, but we just have to talk about that with the committee and make sure that if additional staffing is necessary, that we take care of that to facilitate supervision if students are allowed to come earlier. The situation at Mount Prospect, I do know about that from Friday. There was a contractor there. It's a controls issue in terms of software and controls in the building management system to regulate the HVAC. And in fact, it is true we have a significant number of rooms at Mount Prospect without AC. I did speak to Ms. Hosney about that today with respect to making masks optional. And the executive order relative to masking does provide that if, in fact, the environment is, I guess, what you would call excessively hot based on the executive order, there's no definition for excessively hot in the EO. Is it 80 degrees? Is it 82 degrees when relative humidity of 85%? I don't know. You know, you just have to kind of make your best guesstimate as to when it is uncomfortable for the students and make masks optional. So I did talk to Ms. Hosney about that, and in fact, all of the principals to let them know that that is a viable exception for the masks, and the kids can have the option of taking them off when it is excessively hot. With respect to, you know, who makes a determination when a room is excessively hot, I do think it makes sense to talk to the nursing staff to try to give them some latitude about guiding the staff, so we can certainly do that. And as Ms. Nelson pointed out, I know that Ms. Hosney did send a letter about this issue today because it was affecting Mount Prospect the most. We have obviously hundreds of classrooms, hundreds of HVAC units. Unfortunately, it's a constant area of maintenance. And so there's always going to be some spaces that don't have the AC running, and it does make sense, if it gets hot like it was today, to give the kids the mask option. The cafeteria at Ridge, I think the question was with respect to seating at Ridge High School in the cafeteria. So I did get the opportunity to visit the unit lunch. You can imagine I'm quite interested to see how that plays out as well. And actually, I'm really, really happy with what I saw in terms of how it was going relative to food service lines. That's been a big concern of ours as we've tried to plan for this. But kind of having the students rotating through on sort of an A-B split within the unit lunch, I think has really facilitated the minimizing of crowding going through food service lines. And of course, we do have some students bringing their lunch, probably more than average to start out the school year, but I haven't seen any problems with lunch lines. In terms of seating, the cafeteria is available for seating. The large gym, the newer, largest gym, has the bleachers out. There was plenty of room in there. I mean, there was maybe less than a quarter of the space being used in the bleachers in the big gym. Probably about the same in the what they call Gym B, or the old big gym. Same thing. There was plenty of space for students to sit there. Which is good because a lot of students were sitting outside because the weather was nice. So you can anticipate when the weather's not nice, there was plenty of seating if those students need to be inside. It really was, as actually Gordon pointed out, it was great. I mean, kids were getting a really nice break in the middle of the day. It's beautiful. They're outside. They're in the bleachers down on Lee Field. They can eat in the bleachers of Lee Field. They cannot eat on Lee Field because of the turf. But kids are just relaxing, taking a break in the middle of the day, sitting with friends, playing Frisbee, throwing a football around. It really was just a great scene. It just kind of warmed my heart to, see kids together and enjoying each other's company and getting a nice break in the middle of the day. It was really great, and it was really, kind of what we were hoping we would see. And as Gordon pointed out, we need to give things time. I know that Dr. Lazovic has ideas that he's worked out with the staff and trying to take advantage of using different parts of that unit lunch to give the kids different experiences. So I think as the year plays out, it's going to be a really, really nice option for the students. And I've already heard some anecdotal feedback about the rotating drop schedule, already some positive feedback in terms of not having every class every day, even though it's only been a few days. Actually 2 days that they've been. I think today's the first B day, Friday was the first A day, so they're already kind of falling into some appreciation of not having every class every day. So I think we're fine with respect to seating even during unit lunch. I did hear about some just children that were really choosing, making the choice that they wanted to sit down in this nook or cranny of the building on the floor, which certainly was not something that they needed to do because there was plenty of places to sit outside in the bleachers and so on. So I did talk to Dr. Lazovic about reminding the kids that, we really would prefer that they didn't, pile up all over the floor and sit on the floor. We'll see how that plays out over time, but it didn't strike me as at all an issue, and we'll see. I'll visit again when it's a rainy day or a cold day, and we'll see how it looks with the kids inside. But when the weather was nice, the times that I visited the school, it really seemed to be working out great. As far as senior privilege is concerned, meaning a senior privilege to perhaps be allowed to leave during lunch, I know that we would want to probably talk about that more as a broader policy issue, but certainly some schools do that. I don't think we need to do it for seating purposes. And of course it comes with some concerns, letting students drive off campus and being on the clock, leaving campus, going to town or wherever to have some kind of lunch and then coming back and trying to be here by a certain time makes me a little nervous. I have some concerns about that. So we're not in a rush to do that, but I think it's something that we could talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Markarian. And I know, I talked to some people whose kids were kind of, lost and wandering the first couple days, not knowing what to do at lunch. And I think part of, besides a whole new schedule and whole new, options at lunch, we have to remember a lot of kids haven't been in school, or if they were in school, they were not able to eat with their friends because they didn't have regular lunch for the last, almost 2 years. So kids haven't established their, who they're gonna try to eat with and things like that. So socially, it's a lot harder for some kids, which is hard. The whole thing coming back to school is really hard for a lot of kids. So I understand, that there's some angst out there, and hopefully it works its way out. Okay, we're up to approval of minutes. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Schaefer and Ms. Singh, seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes. Oh, no, I have to abstain. I'm sorry. I wasn't here.
Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to the Finance Committee. There's 3 items. Would someone like to make a motion for them? Mrs. White? Someone like to second? Ms. Korn? Before we vote, do you have a Finance Committee report?
No, there's no report. We're meeting coming soon. The first one is a standing item, the second one is professional development, and the third one is a donation from the Oak Street PTO for a Gaga ball pit. So thank you to the Oak Street PTO.
Very cool.
Gaga Pit, another Gaga Pit. Now Cedar Hill and Oak Street both have one, right? Okay, can we have a roll call, please, Mr. McLaughlin?
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes,
Madam Vice President.
thank you. We're up to personnel. There's 21 items. There's an addendum for that also. Would someone like to make a motion for those items? Mr. Salmon and Ms. Singh? The Personnel Committee is going to meet Friday, so it has not met since our last meeting. Did anyone have any questions before we vote on those? Mrs. Korn?
It's personnel where we had the quarantine tutors mentioned in there.
Oh yeah, but you didn't do that one.
So I thought maybe you might want to,
Yeah.
talk about that, because that was a question.
Yeah,
And then
okay, sure.
just, that was in this, right? So just-
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't forget about that, because that may be.
Yeah, okay, so we'll explain the quarantine tutors after we vote. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes,
Madam Vice President.
thank you. Would you like to explain that now?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the comments that Mr. Syed had read from the BT Connect portion of public comment. Sorry about that. So, yeah, so we are working, actually thanks to Mr. Syed, he worked out a job description and did a posting to collect the names of staff members that would be willing to do some tutoring after school for students that have to be home for quarantine, strictly for that purpose. And we're anticipating that students might need some additional support to supplement their asynchronous learning opportunities if they have to be home on quarantine. So we are working on taking those folks that are part of this pool and creating some lists that can be communicated to students at the 6-12 level in the event that they would like to request some tutoring assistance if they are out on quarantine and need some help following what's going on, and a little bit more intensively making those arrangements for K-5 students working with the building principals and the teachers and parents to make those arrangements. Obviously, setting up a Zoom call or something after school to work with a younger student is going to need a little bit more coordination. So that is the idea behind the quarantine tutors. We're going to have to probably be a little bit flexible in implementing that in terms of the timing of when it can happen and which teachers are available for which content areas. So we have to kind of build that out. Obviously, I'm hoping we don't need it very much, but we want to have a supplemental resource for the students that are working from home in addition to the asynchronous things. With respect to attendance, that was another question I heard coming from the BT Connect email, was this idea of being present virtually. Again, strictly for students that are on an approved quarantine situation. We will facilitate giving students credit for participating virtually as long as they are participating. And teachers will make those judgment calls at the 612 level on a bi-period basis simply by having students appear on a Zoom call just like last year. So the students at the 612 level that must quarantine would be able to listen in to a class through Zoom. The teacher would be able to see that they're at least present on the Zoom call, and that would be enough to give them credit for participating virtually. The teachers are not going to be teaching to the screens like they were in many instances last year for a student that's home for quarantine, but they can have a Zoom call set up and at least be able to see that a student is there listening in and seeking whatever they can get by participating in a Zoom call. And so that would be participating virtually. Obviously, if a student's not feeling well, maybe they actually have COVID, so they're on quarantine, they don't feel well, they don't come to the Zoom call, they're just absent. If they come, they're given credit and participating virtually. Similarly, at the K-5 level, as long as students are engaging with the asynchronous work and hopefully with these quarantine tutors that we're trying to set up, then those students would also get credit for participating virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Markarian. We're up to the policy committee. There are 2 items. Would somebody like to make a motion for them?
Before,
Yeah.
oh, we can make a motion too.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Korn and Mr. Salmon, seconded.
And
Okay.
then there's also a question about the COVID contact information,
Okay.
contact tracing information.
Contact tracing. Do you want to talk about that after the policy stuff?
But we have to redo
Okay.
this because this is part of that too.
It's part of policy too.
Yeah, and I think the
Okay.
information went out with that parent letter we sent, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
And then we did have a meeting today, but the minutes didn't go out. So there's no minutes right now. But we still have first reading for the road forward, the health and safety policy, which is taking the place of, what was the other one, the road back? But we had first reading for this last time, but there's a couple of tweaks. And I think Nick just mentioned with the vaccination of the employees, of the teachers and the staff, that they have to either show that they're vaccinated or be tested once a week. And that's really just the biggest change. And then the masking, talking about that, inside any school building, the executive order says that masking, while kids are in school or after school or at meetings, at board meetings or any event at a school, inside the building, you have to have masks on. So those are the 2 things, right, Nick? Those are the only 2 real differences to what we voted on last time. And then it was the second one, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. The second one was the school employee vaccination requirements, which is part of the whole thing. It's the same thing that Nick had mentioned in his superintendent notes. So that's what we're voting on for that.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Korn? Mr. Markarian, did you want to talk a little bit about what the parent letter said about contact tracing and all that?
Sure. So we did send out a document, I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit, no, about 2 weeks ago, around the opening of school, as we were preparing to put our messaging out to families One of the documents was called COVID-19 Updated Guidance for Families 2021-22. So that was sent out by all the principals and myself right around the end of August. But I'd be happy to resend that and make sure that it is posted on the district webpage. It does have FAQs that would be related to quarantines, how long students would need to stay out, things of that nature. So I'll be happy to post that again and actually send it out again this week, make sure people have it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Markarian.
I know that on that subject of vaccination, that is addressed in the two policies that we're doing first reading on. As Ms. Korn mentioned, the second policy in particular was written by our policy writing firm, Strauss Esme, specific to Executive Order 253 for the testing of unvaccinated staff members. And so that's been a question. I know that people have asked, well, where do we stand on that? I did ask Mr. Side to take a quick look at that today. What are we running roughly percent-wise with the percentage of staff vaccinated?
Right now, we're at 92.5% staff vaccination.
Okay, so right around 92, 93%. So I know a few people have been asking about that. So I would say, obviously, the vast majority of staff have been vaccinated at this point, which is good for us, not only because we have a high percentage of people vaccinated, but it also means that you have a low number of people that you have to get weekly testing done for. So it makes it a little bit more manageable that we have a fairly low number of people that are going to need the weekly testing.
And I think do we still need a roll call for policy, right, Mr. McLaughlin?
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yep.
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
No.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to the curriculum committee.
Curriculum met on Friday, and I'll be reporting out at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Wellness committee?
Wellness took the month of August off. We'll be meeting in September toward the end of the month to resume work.
Okay. Are there any liaison committee reports? You have one? Okay.
Yep, hold on a second. So the Municipal Alliance met, we met on the 7th. And there's a couple things, let me see. To have to do with like to town, so it's the Lindsay Meyer Teen Institute, which is teaches leadership and to the teens for like to be leaders in your community, to help it's hard for like showing good, being good leaders, saying you can have fun without doing drugs, you don't have to drink, all that. And they have this program that they go to this camp. But of course, this year, because of COVID, last year was canceled, but this year they had it, which was great. They had a hybrid. It was virtual and in person. And let me see, because I have my notes, because I didn't go to it. So they had 2 days of in-person for the REACH kids. And then they have 2 virtual days. So we had 26 to 27 people involved. We have 15 freshmen, which is excellent. 5 YACs, their Youth Advisory Council, 1 College Advisory Council, and 4 to 5 returning students. So I think I got those numbers correct, but there was really a really good turnout for this year for the group. 20 people went to the in-person camp. They work on Action Group program, which is like for the local community, Post-it notes on what you'd like to see in town, or what you'd like to change. Drinking and drug use was an example, mental health awareness. They do team building, they got to know each other, and then they had these really great speakers. One guy was Sean O'Dwyer. He does a speech on I am lovable and capable. And this guy, Kevin Wanzer, who did this positive response challenge, that they put something out there and you can only respond positively. The kids really had a great time. They learned a lot. And they were able to They did a couple of virtual days, but then they had all the kids at the community center, and all of our kids were together at the community center, with masks and stuff, and then they were able to do the virtual camp all together. So it was nice. So they said it was really great, and they had a good time. They were hoping, they also were awarded, our group was awarded the Top Action Group Award for the 2020-2021 year. It's called the Lindsay Rosemeyer Memorial Prevention Award. It's a really big honor, and it really reflected the group's hard work and dedication for the last year for what they're doing. Let me see. So the co-president, Madison Close, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, she broke down some of the focus for their action plan would be for drinking and drug use. They want to empower students with online messaging. They want to, for mental health, they want to host a booth or hand out information. They have a LGBTQ+, they want to do like some training on pronouns, etc., environmental problems, cleanup days in town, trying to do a program to help reduce risky behavior. So they have all these great ideas, and it's all kids coming up with it, which is great. They gave us an update on that grab and go outreach I've been talking about. That's through the library, a partnership with the library for teens to, every month they had a different theme where they would make like 50 bags with different, I don't even know if I have an example of the teens, but they wanted to make buttons one time. They had like, you can paint rock. They had just like a little, one was like a hot chocolate bombs you can make. So they had a project the kids could just go grab and pick up and do at home. And then they had like a Zoom thing you can get together after you were done. But now they did a couple of things live this summer, I think, because they could eat outside. And they're continue, they got a competitive grant award to them for $3,500. And they're going to apply again for the same thing to expand and try to get a button maker and get some things to expand the program a little bit. It's been very popular. It was very successful. They're hoping to do more stuff in person in the fall, but we'll see. And then they were talking about like back to school night and stuff, because they would want to. They were hoping to get in touch with the high school and see if they could. But I don't know if our back to school nights are going to be in person. I think they're virtual, so that would have to change the right. I don't know. I'm not even sure. Change the what they would be able to do. And they were talking about trying to do the teen volunteer fair, but they're hoping to bring it back next year because it usually has 100 students and families involved, and it was a really good program. But it's too hard to get like who you're volunteering for is usually older people and stuff, so it's hard to, if any spikes in COVID, you can't do that, and to get people involved to try to be volunteers. And they're also talking about the Pride Survey. Do you remember the Pride Survey they had done, and they do it in conjunction with Ridge? And I think they're going to try to do one this year. The last one was 2019. And they're going to see if they're going to get done by the end of this year. And they do it over at the Ridge and at WAMS and try to, and then they'll try to compare the years and try to get the Pride Survey done by the end of this year. So that was that. And then I just got an email, hold on. They wanted us to share some stuff with the community. And let me just see if I can find it. Sorry. Here it is. So there's a rummage sale on September 17th and 18th on 310 Milltown Road in Bridgewater. I think it's for to raise money for 4-H, the 4-H Association's annual Somerset County 4-H Association rummage sale at the Ted Bloom 4-H Center. You can find incredible deals and on a massive variety of donated goods, and all the money goes directly to the Somerset County 4-H Association, which helps support youth-based events, scholarships, and learning opportunities in our community, including the Somerset County 4-H Fair. You could also drop off donations September 12th and 13th and 14th, so you have tomorrow. Sorry. They don't want broken items, obviously, so that's what's going on the 17th and 18th, and then the Somerset County 4-H is having an open house September 23rd from 6:30 to 8:30 at the same place, 310 Milltown Road in Bridgewater. And it just says, enjoy a night of 4-H fun with hands-on discovery and learn about over 60-plus free to join clubs for grades K through, it says 13, so at 1 year out of high school, you can actually be in the 4-H. So they said it's 4H is tops.org/events/open house 2021 if you're interested in more information. That's that. Well done.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Korn? Okay. Any other liaison reports? No? Okay. We're now up to public comment on non-agenda items, and I just wanted to reiterate what I explained in the beginning of the meeting, because it was before a lot of people got here, about how the executive order, which was just mentioned in the policy committee report, in the policy committee discussion, that the executive order about masks does apply to after-school activities and Board of Ed meetings and things like that in the schools, so that affects us tonight. So I'd ask if you could please wear a mask while you're here. There's extra masks back in the back. Jen Nicholson has them if anyone doesn't have one. And at this point, we'll open up public comment on non-agenda items. When you come down, if you could state your name and address when you get here to the microphone. Thank you. Anyone here that wants to make a public comment? Okay, so then we'll see if anyone had sent one in. Mr. Syatt?
Yes. First public comment is from Carmen Yanazzo at 41 Aspen Drive. I have 2 children attending Cedar Hill Elementary. Could you please explain why our district is not offering free lunch to our students? My understanding is that the National School Lunch is a federal program available for all children regardless of parents' income. Why is our town only offering reduced price lunches, $2.60 for the case of Cedar Hill, rather than free lunches? Thank you. Next public comment is from Elaine Daddario, 9 Alder Lane. If your student has a laptop and would prefer to use it as opposed to the Chromebook given them, are they forced to use the Chromebook? Chromebook is not great to use when they've been used to using theirs last year. Sign off to get scheduled seems to say teachers can refuse submissions of work not done on Chromebooks. Kindly explain in detail what the policy here is. Our student would do better not struggling to use the Chromebook when he has a perfectly good laptop that works without issue. It has been said by students that using Chromebooks is harder than the work to be completed. Thank you. Next public comment is from Aneki Farzani, 45 Dawn Drive. Hello, I would like to express my gratitude that you have been following the health guidance of the CDC in making masking and other decisions for our district. Although there are a lot of loud voices speaking out against the requirements for masks, everyone that I have spoken to personally is very appreciative that our district is continuing to follow best practices outlined by health professionals. Even the students feel safer with masks, especially as there are still unvaccinated students in the district, including, of course, those that are too young to be vaccinated. Our number one goal should be keeping our kids in school. We all see what has been happening in places like Arizona, Texas, and Florida in terms of illnesses, quarantines, school closures, and insufficient staff and drivers. I'm grateful every day to live in a state and district that is following the advice of health professionals and that you're doing everything you can to keep our children safe and in school. I appreciate your resolve. We should continue to be pressured by those that I do not believe represent the majority of families or students in the district. Thank you. And that is all for public comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Syatt. Mr. Makarian, did you want to address?
Sure. So the National School Lunch Program, our district doesn't participate in the National School Lunch Program, really for operational reasons. There are, let's just say, strings attached to the way the federal programs work, which can sometimes hamper how we run the rest of our food service program and really prevent us from operating it as efficiently as we can. However, we still conduct the free and reduced lunch program, even though we're not reimbursed as official participants of the National School Lunch Program, meaning the application process is the same, the criteria is the same, and students that are in fact eligible for free or reduced lunches are provided free or reduced lunches. Did I miss anything, Mr. McLaughlin? Okay. And certainly, we've analyzed this historically, whether it benefits the district the most to participate or not participate in the National School Lunch Program, and we have determined that it isn't. ultimately in the best interest of the district as a whole. However, as I said, all students eligible for free or reduced lunch are certainly provided it. Laptops versus Chromebooks. So there's really not a lot of flexibility on this issue at the middle school level. However, at the high school level, there is. The issue really comes down to situations where students may be in a classroom setting and need to use their Chromebook consistent with the activity that the teacher is doing. It might be an assessment or certain software that needs to be done on the Chromebook. So at the discretion of the teacher, the students can certainly use a different device depending on what the classroom activity might be, but they are going to need to have their Chromebook in hand. So there's a little bit of a trade-off in needing to carry both to school if they want to have the option of using a laptop in a classroom, not just their Chromebook. And I'm sorry, Mr. Sinai, what was that last one? I missed it. You could just, the last one was basically a thank you for yes. So thank you for the support on that.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify about the free and reduced lunch. Like even during when we were shut down, we were still providing meals to the students who qualified, even when there was no physical school going on.
Yes.
But I do think there was an article that came out, I think, that might have prompted this question about how some districts were using some kind of, emergency relief money to give free lunches, irregardless. You know what I mean? So I think that's where the question may have come from.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you have to participate in the National School Lunch Program to do that, and we don't. So that's the reason why it's not happening here.
Okay, at this point, I forgot to close public comment, but it's closed now. And we're up to board forum. Do any board members have anything they wanted to raise at board forum? Mrs. White?
I just wanted to say, after years of sitting in the audience and years of sitting up here listening to all the information about the rotating drop schedule, it is so great that we have started it this year. My kids have been very happy, and yes, there's a learning curve, with anything new, but I'm so excited that there's something, that's related to their education that we really can start talking about when we have our meetings and get updates on how things are going, other than just everything being, related to the road back, the road forward, but actually related to education.
I mean, to chime in on that, I think just talking to a few students at Ridge, even in the first couple of days of school, they were telling me about stuff they did in class, which I think wouldn't have happened if the class periods were as short as they were before, because you're just getting acclimated the first couple of days, and they actually had time to start real stuff already, and they only had 2 days of actual normal rotating schedule. So it'll be fun to hear about how it goes. Anyone else have something for board forum? Oh, let's sing.
My daughter is in 7th grade, my oldest daughter, and this is the first time she's really experiencing the middle school feel, and she's been nothing but happy. So I just want to make a comment saying that I feel like we're doing something right, getting the kids back in school. Really, really happy that things seem a little bit more normal this year, and praying to God that it remains that way and only gets better, and not the other way around, as a lot of people are saying it might. So I'm hopeful, and just seeing my kids being happy, having time with their friends, getting to talk in the halls, having lockers, I mean, just the list goes on and on. So I'm very appreciative of what our district is doing to get these kids back into school. So just wanted to mention.
I'm going to, like Jen said, the rotating drop schedule is just exciting to see finally put into practice. And I know everyone was like, "Oh my God, we're changing." There's never a good time to change. I know this is a weird year but I think it's good. I mean, it's exciting for the kids, even though it's not totally normal, because I would never, ever in a million years consider wearing masks normal for any children ever. But I think that just being, my kids are excited to be in school with all the kids. It's so much nicer having all the kids in school, and they're really excited about it. It feels totally different. They're not doing the Zooming that we were doing at the end of last year, where not all the kids were in. They love seeing everybody in school. So they were excited about that. And also, anecdotally, we have a couple of other kids staying at my house, and they were like, it's so nice not to have every class. Even though they had a couple of days, they really do notice a difference. And they talked about the longer classes, which they're getting used to, but it's nice not having every class every day, so that for their workload. And also, I think the lunch, I think being able to eat lunch with your friends, that was really a positive thing. And I also hope that the powers that be see the light and see that we can have school safely without the mitigation soon. And because I really don't see an end unless someone deigns to end it for us. And I'm really hoping that we don't get caught in the same trap we were caught in last year, where I'm afraid of the schools being shut down again, and it's so out of our control. But I really hope that it goes forward and we keep going on a positive note and keep going forward, and because it's so good for the kids. It's just great for them to be in school. It's 100% they all need to be in school. So I hope our quarantines are low, and because having kids out of school is like the worst possible thing for them. So I really hope, I'm praying, I will pray every week, every day, that we go forward and we never go backwards, especially to where we were last year. That would be a disaster.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess we're up to adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Salmon and Ms. Schaefer. All in favor?